Commander Jake Morrison floated in the zero-gravity section of the U.E.'s Defiance, watching the stars through the observation deck's massive window. 3 months into humanity's first deep space mission, the silence of the void still amazed him. Earth was just a tiny blue dot behind them now, barely visible even with the ship's powerful telescopes. The mission had been simple enough. Explore the outer regions of known space, map new star systems, and search for signs of intelligent life. So far, they had found plenty of dead worlds and empty space. Jake was starting to think they were alone in the universe. That changed when the ship's computer started screaming. Jake pushed himself toward the bridge as the alarm echoed through the corridors. The artificial gravity kicked in as he reached the main deck, and his boots hit the floor with a metallic clang. The bridge. Crew was already at their stations, faces tense with concentration. "Report," Jake called out. Sliding into his command chair, Dr. Lisa Harper looked up from her communication station, her hands shaking slightly. "We're receiving a transmission, Commander." "It's not from Earth." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. After decades of searching for alien life, humanity had finally made contact. "Can you decode it?" "I'm trying, sir." The signal is incredibly complex. Multiple layers of data, mathematical sequences, and what appears to be linguistic patterns. Lisa's fingers flew across her console. "Whoever sent this is far more advanced than us." Chief Engineer Ben Carter turned from his station, worry etched on his face. "Commander, I'm detecting movement on long-range sensors. Something big is heading our way." Jake pulled up the sensor display on his personal screen. A massive object was approaching their position, easily 10 times larger than the Defiance. Its design was unlike anything humans had ever built, sleek. Curves and organic shapes that seemed to flow like water frozen in time. "Time to intercept?" Jake asked. 6 hours, sir," Ben replied. "Should I prepare defensive systems?" Jake hesitated. If this was first contact, he didn't want to start an interstellar war by appearing hostile. But he also couldn't ignore the safety of his crew. Bring weapons online but keep them powered down. "I want to be ready, not threatening." Lisa suddenly straightened at her station. "I've got something, Commander." "The transmission is repeating, and I think I've cracked part of the mathematical base." "It's a message. What does it say?" Lisa's face went pale as she read from her screen. "It's addressed to the inhabitants of the third planet from the star you call Sol. They know about Earth, sir." The bridge fell silent except for the steady hum of the ship's engines. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. These aliens hadn't just found the Defiance by accident. They had been watching humanity's home world. "Continue translation," Jake ordered. "Yes, sir." Lisa bent over her console, occasionally muttering to herself as she worked through the alien language. After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, she looked up again. "I've got most of it translated, Commander. You're not going to like this." Jake braced himself. "Let's hear it." Lisa cleared her throat and began reading. "To the primitive species of the Third World, you have been discovered by the Galactic Council. Your planet and all its resources now fall under our jurisdiction. As is standard procedure for newly contacted civilizations, you will provide tribute to demonstrate your submission to Council authority." "Tribute?" Ben asked. "What kind of tribute?" Lisa continued reading. "You will deliver the following within 30 of your solar rotations: 40% of your military vessels, 60% of your raw materials including metals, crystals, and energy sources, 100,000 of your population for integration into Council labor programs." Jake felt anger building in his chest. "Labor programs?" "There's more, sir. Failure to comply with these demands will result in corrective action. A Council enforcement fleet will be dispatched to ensure compliance. Resistance will be met with overwhelming force. This message concludes with coordinates for tribute delivery." The bridge crew exchanged shocked glances. Jake had imagined first contact in many ways, but never like this. These aliens weren't interested in peaceful exchange or cultural sharing. They wanted to turn humanity into slaves. "Sir," Then said quietly, "that ship will be in weapons range in 4 hours." Jake nodded, his mind racing. The alien vessel was massive and presumably well armed. The Defiance was an exploration ship, not a warship. They had defensive systems and some weapons, but nothing designed for serious combat. "Lisa, can you send a response?" "I think so, sir. The translation matrix is getting clearer as I work with it." "Good. Send this message. The crew of the UES. Defiance acknowledges receipt of your transmission. We request time to consult with our government before providing a response to your demands." Lisa worked at her console for several minutes, then looked up. "Message sent, Commander." They waited in tense silence until Lisa's console chimed with an incoming response. She quickly translated the brief message. "They acknowledge our request. We have been granted 12 hours to provide a formal response from our leadership. After that, they expect immediate compliance." Jake stood and paced to the main view screen, where the alien ship was now visible as a distant speck of light. 12 hours to convince Earth's leaders that humanity faced its greatest threat since the invention of nuclear weapons. "Ben, how long?" "Until we can establish real-time communication with Earth. At this distance, about 8 hours for a message to reach home, sir." Jake did the math quickly. By the time Earth received their warning and could send a response, the 12-hour deadline would be almost up. Humanity's leaders would have to make the most important decision in human history with almost no time to consider their options. "Lisa, prepare a detailed message for Earth Command. Include everything: the translation, sensor data on their ship, and a full report on their demands. Mark it Priority 1 and send it immediately." "Yes, sir." Jake returned to his command chair and stared at the approaching alien vessel. Somewhere behind them, Earth continued its daily routine, unaware that their entire way of life was about to change forever. Humans went to work, children played in parks, and governments argued about trade policies and border disputes. None of them knew that aliens had just given humanity an ultimatum: become slaves or be destroyed. The Defiance continued through space, toward what might be humanity's first and last alien encounter. Jake wondered if his crew would live to see how this story ended. More importantly, he wondered if anyone on Earth would either. 8 hours later, Captain Amy Foster sat in the emergency meeting room deep beneath the Pentagon. The walls were lined with screens showing data from the Defiance, and the air was thick with tension. Around the table sat the most powerful people. In human government and military. Admiral Joe Parker leaned forward, his weathered face grim. "So let me understand this correctly. Aliens have given us 12 hours to hand over nearly half our military, most of our resources, and 100,000 people. Or they'll attack." "That's correct, sir," Amy replied, reviewing the data from Commander Morrison's transmission. "The Defiance is still monitoring the alien vessel. It's maintaining position just outside our solar system." Defense Secretary Kate Williams shook her head in disbelief. 100,000 people for labor programs. That's slavery, plain and simple. The translation was very clear on that point, Amy confirmed. Dr. Harper believes the aliens see this as routine. They've apparently done this to other civilizations before. President Robert Hayes entered the room, followed by his advisors. Everyone stood until he gestured for them to sit. "I've been briefed on the situation. What are our options?" Admiral Parker pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's military assets. "We have approximately 2,000 combat-capable vessels, from small fighters to our largest battleships. Our most advanced ship is the prototype UES Retribution. But it's still in testing. Could we fight them?" The President asked. "Unknown, sir. We only have sensor data on one alien ship, and it's massive. If they have a fleet like the message suggests, we could be severely outmatched. Meanwhile, far from Earth, Commander Morrison was conducting his own investigation. He had ordered the Defiance to maintain a safe distance from the alien vessel, while gathering as much intelligence as possible. "Ben, what are our stealth systems showing?" Morrison asked. Chief Engineer Ben Carter checked his displays. "We're running silent, sir. Their scans are passing right over us. I don't think they know we're here." Dr. Lisa Harper looked up from her station. "Commander, I've been analyzing their communications. They're not just talking to us. They're sending regular reports to someone else. Can you intercept those messages?" "I'm trying, sir. Their encryption is incredibly complex, but I'm starting to recognize patterns." Lisa paused, her face growing pale. "Commander, I think I've translated part of the status report." "What does it say?" "They're calling this a routine subjugation mission. The message mentions that they expect full compliance within the deadline. If we refuse, they'll request an enforcement fleet." Morrison felt his stomach drop. How big is an enforcement fleet? "The numbers are hard to translate exactly, but it sounds like hundreds of ships, sir." Back on Earth, the emergency meeting continued. The room had grown crowded as more officials arrived. Scientists, military leaders, and diplomats all tried to process the reality of first contact being a demand for surrender. Dr. Sarah Martinez, Earth's leading xenobiologist, stood to address the room. "I've been analyzing the alien language patterns. This civilization appears to be very hierarchical. They expect immediate submission from species they consider inferior." "What if we try to negotiate?" asked Secretary of State David Clark. "The translation suggests they don't negotiate," Amy replied. "This is apparently standard procedure for them. They make demands, and civilizations either comply or get destroyed." Tech specialist Ryan Brooks had been quiet during most of the meeting. But now he stood up. "I've been studying the technical data from the Defiance. Their ship is large and powerful, but the technology doesn't seem that advanced compared to our newest systems." Admiral Parker raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "Their ship uses massive energy signatures for basic operations. Our newer vessels are much more efficient. Their scanning technology is also fairly basic. The Defiance has been watching them for hours without being detected." President Hayes leaned back in his chair. "Are you suggesting we could actually fight them?" "I'm suggesting they might not be as superior as they think they are, sir." The room fell silent as everyone considered this possibility. For hours, they had assumed the aliens held all the advantages. The idea that humanity might have some technological edge was both encouraging and terrifying. Captain Foster stood and walked to the main display. "There's something else to consider. These aliens clearly expect us to surrender immediately. They've given us a very short deadline and seem confident we'll comply." "Your point?" the President asked. "They're not prepared for resistance, sir. This is routine for them. They probably haven't faced a real fight in centuries." On the Defiance, Morrison was reaching similar conclusions. The alien ship maintained a standard patrol pattern. Its weapon systems powered down. The crew seemed relaxed, almost bored. "Lisa, have you learned anything else about their society?" "Yes, sir. From what I can translate, they call themselves the Galactic Council. It's made up of 12 different alien species, and they've been in power for thousands of years. They govern through intimidation and overwhelming force. But they haven't had to use that force recently? It doesn't seem like it, sir. The messages suggest most civilizations surrender immediately when contacted." Morrison studied the alien vessel on his screen. It was certainly impressive, but now that he looked closer, he could see signs of age. The hull showed wear patterns, and some of the external equipment looked outdated. "Ben, could our weapons penetrate their shields?" Carter ran some calculations. "Hard to say for certain, sir, but their shield technology appears to be designed to stop basic energy weapons." Our newer plasma systems might be able to adapt. Back on Earth, the meeting was reaching a critical point. The deadline was approaching, and humanity needed to make a decision. "We have 3 options," President Hayes said. "We can surrender and hope they treat us fairly. We can try to negotiate and buy more time. Or we can refuse and prepare for war." Admiral Parker leaned forward. "There's a 4th option, sir. We could send them a message they won't expect." "What kind of message?" "A demonstration. Show them that demanding tribute from humanity was a mistake." The room grew quiet as everyone considered the implications. Captain Foster felt her heart racing. After centuries of dreaming about first contact, humanity was about to make a decision that would determine their future among the stars. The alien deadline was only hours away, and Earth's leaders had to choose between submission and the unknown dangers of defiance. President Hayes stood at the head of the table and looked at each person in the room. The decision had been made. "We're not giving them tribute." "Admiral Parker, tell me about this demonstration you mentioned." Admiral Parker activated the main display, showing a detailed view of humanity's most advanced warship, the U.S. Retribution, sir. It's our newest prototype, equipped with technology the aliens have never seen before. Captain Nick Stone's image appeared on the communication screen. From the Retribution's bridge, he was a tall man with steady eyes and a calm voice. "Mr. President, the Retribution is ready for whatever you need." "Captain Stone, we're going to ask you to do something that has never been attempted before. We want you to send the aliens a message they'll never forget." "What kind of message, sir?" Defense Secretary Williams leaned forward. "We want you to disable their ship without destroying it. Show them that demanding tribute from humanity was a serious mistake." Stone nodded. Slowly, "That's a tall order, ma'am. But if anyone can do it, it's the ship and crew." The Retribution was unlike any vessel humanity had ever built. Dr. Lisa Harper had been transferred from the Defiance to help with the mission, along with several other specialists. She now stood on the Retribution's bridge, working with the ship's advanced communication systems. "Captain," Lisa said, "I've prepared the message we'll send to the aliens. It needs to be respectful enough not to start an immediate war, but clear enough to establish our position." Stone reviewed the message on his personal screen. It was simple and direct, exactly what the situation needed. "Good work, Doctor." We ready to begin the demonstration?" Chief Engineer Diane Ross looked up from her station. "All systems are green, Captain. The quantum displacement drive is online, and our new plasma weapons are fully charged." The Retribution's weapons were revolutionary. Unlike traditional energy beams that fired in straight lines, these plasma systems could change direction and adapt to enemy defenses in real time. The ship's artificial intelligence could predict enemy movements and adjust targeting faster than any human could react. Intelligence. Officer Carl Lewis had spent hours studying the alien ship's position near Jupiter. "Captain, the aliens have arranged their escort ships in a traditional dominance display. They're showing off their power, but it leaves them tactically vulnerable." "How many ships are we looking at?" Stone asked. 12 vessels total, sir. 1 large command ship and 11 smaller escorts. They're spread out in a formation that looks impressive but makes it hard for them to support each other. Stone smiled grimly. The aliens had made the same mistake many Earth militaries had made throughout history. They were more concerned with looking powerful than being ready for actual combat. Meanwhile, on the alien command ship, Praetor Zactol was growing impatient. The 12-hour deadline was approaching, and the humans had sent no further communication since their initial request. "For time." "Status report," Zactol demanded from his bridge crew. "No response from the human homeworld, Praetor," his communications officer replied. "Their primitive vessel continues to maintain distance." Zactol studied the tactical display showing his fleet's position. 12 ships of the Galactic Council, representing the combined might of civilizations that had ruled space for millennia. No primitive species had ever dared to defy them. "Prepare to broadcast the final demand," he ordered. "If they do not respond within 1 hour, we will begin corrective procedures." Back on Earth, the final preparations were complete. Captain Foster stood in the command center, watching as data flowed in from multiple sources. The Retribution was in position, invisible to alien sensors, thanks to its advanced stealth technology. "All stations report ready," Admiral Parker announced. "Operation Lighthouse is go." The operation's name had been chosen carefully. Like ancient lighthouses that warned ships away from dangerous rocks, humanity was about to send a warning that would be visible across the galaxy. On the Retribution, Captain Stone took his position in the command chair. His crew had trained for months with the ship's new systems, but this would be their first real test. "The stakes couldn't be higher." Dr. Harper opened a channel to the alien command ship. "Channel open, Captain." Stone took a deep breath and began. The message that would change everything. "This is Captain Nick Stone of the United Earthship Retribution. We have received your demands for tribute. The people of Earth decline your generous offer of servitude. Please observe the attached demonstration of why tribute will not be necessary." The message was transmitted across all frequencies, ensuring the aliens couldn't miss it. Within seconds, alarms began sounding on every council ship as their sensors detected something impossible. The Retribution appeared seemingly out of nowhere, materializing less than 1,000 kilometers from the alien flagship. Its sleek hull reflected the light of Jupiter's moons as it hung motionless in space. Weapons powered but not yet firing. Praetor Zach Tall stared at his tactical display in shock. The human ship had appeared without warning, bypassing all their sensors and early warning systems. His weapons officer was frantically trying to target the intruder, but their targeting computers couldn't get a lock. "How did they get so close?" Zachtel demanded. "Unknown, Praetor. Our sensors show nothing until the ship appeared." "Fire on them." "Immediately." But before the alien weapons could charge, something impossible happened. The Retribution's plasma cannons fired, but instead of destroying their targets, the beams seemed to phase through the alien shields like they weren't there. Each alien ship was hit simultaneously by precisely calibrated energy pulses. The weapons disabled their shield generators, weapon systems, and engines while leaving life support and communication systems completely intact. Within 30 seconds, the entire Council fleet was helpless. The demonstration wasn't over. The Retribution began moving between the disabled ships, its quantum drive allowing it to appear and disappear at will. Each time it materialized, it fired another precisely aimed shot, shutting down backup systems and emergency weapons. The aliens watched in growing horror as a single human ship systematically dismantled their entire battle group without harming a single crew member. Their technology, their tactics, their overwhelming numbers meant nothing against humanity's advanced systems. Finally, the Retribution returned to its original position and transmitted a second message. "Demonstration complete. Your ship's life support systems are fully functional. Weapons and engines will be restored in 24 hours. We suggest you use that time to reconsider your approach to first contact." Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the human ship vanished again, leaving the Council fleet drifting helplessly in Jupiter's shadow. Praetor Zach Tall floated in the command center of his disabled ship, staring at the empty space where the human vessel had vanished. Emergency lights cast red shadows across his bridge as his crew worked frantically to restore basic systems. In 3,000 years of Council dominance, nothing like this had ever happened. "Status report," he ordered, his voice barely controlled. His second officer looked up from a damaged console. "All weapon systems are offline, Praetor. Engines are completely dead. The humans somehow shut down our primary power cores without destroying them. How is that possible? We don't know, sir. Our engineers have never seen technology like this. The energy pulses passed through our shields as if they weren't there, but they only affected specific systems. Life support, communications, and basic sensors are still functioning. Zach Tull felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career: fear, not just of the human weapons, but of what this meant for the Council's power. If one primitive species could disable an entire battle group, what did that say about their supposed superiority? Send an emergency transmission to the Council. Highest priority. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Defiance, Commander Morrison watched the aftermath of the demonstration through long-range sensors. The alien ships drifted helplessly, their crews undoubtedly trying to understand what had just happened. "Commander," Dr. Lisa Harper called from her station, "I'm intercepting multiple transmissions from the alien fleet. They're sending distress calls and status reports. Can you translate them?" "Some of it, sir. They're calling this an unprecedented attack. One message mentions that their combat protocols have no provisions for this type of warfare." Chief Engineer Ben Carter looked up from his console. "Sir, I'm detecting power fluctuations in their ships. It looks like they're trying to restart their main systems." Morrison nodded. Captain Stone had said the alien ships would regain power in 24 hours. The demonstration was designed to disable, not destroy. It was a message of strength, not a declaration of war, back on the Council's capital world of Nexus Prime. The emergency session was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from 12 species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall, their voices raised in heated debate. Councillor Thexara of the Nethri stood at her speaking platform, her insect-like form clicking nervously. "Fellow councillors, we must face the reality of what has occurred. A single human vessel has neutralized our entire diplomatic fleet. Impossible," roared General Krondar of the militaristic Kronok. "No primitive species possesses such technology. This must be some kind of trick." "The sensor data is clear," Thexara replied calmly. "The human ship appeared without warning, disabled 12 of our vessels without casualties, and vanished again. Their technology is clearly more advanced than ours." High Counselor Vex Tar of the Valorian Empire, the Council's ruling species, raised his hand for silence. "What do our intelligence services tell us about this human civilization?" "Intelligence." Director Kelanos activated a holographic display showing Earth. "Our preliminary surveys indicated a typical primitive species. Single planet, basic space travel, divided into competing nation-states. Nothing suggested they possessed advanced military technology." "Then how do you explain what happened to Praetor Zach Tell's fleet?" "I cannot, High Counselor. Either our intelligence was completely wrong, or the humans have been hiding their true capabilities." The debate continued for hours as council members struggled to process this new reality. For 3 millennia, they had ruled through fear and overwhelming force. No species had ever successfully resisted their demands, and certainly none had demonstrated clear technological superiority. On Earth, President Hayes and his advisors watched the alien transmissions with growing satisfaction. The demonstration had worked exactly as planned. The aliens were confused, frightened, and completely unprepared for resistance. "Intelligence reports suggest the aliens are in chaos," Admiral Parker reported. "Multiple species are questioning the Council's authority for the first time in centuries." Captain Foster smiled grimly. "Good, that was the point. Show them that their system of intimidation doesn't work when they encounter someone who can fight back. What's our next move?" Defense Secretary Williams asked. "We wait," the President replied. "Let them think about what they've seen. When they're ready to talk like equals instead of masters, we'll be here." The effects of the demonstration spread far beyond the Council's leadership. On colony worlds throughout their territory, news of humanity's successful resistance began to spark hope among oppressed populations. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, a group of enslaved Zephyrians gathered in secret to discuss the incredible news. For generations, they had been forced to extract rare minerals for the Council with no hope of freedom. "Is it true?" whispered Veltar, a young Zephyrian barely old enough to work the mines. "Did the humans really defeat a Council fleet?" "The underground networks confirm it," replied Elder Morjeth. "A single human ship disabled 12 Council vessels without destroying them. They could have killed everyone aboard, but they chose. Mercy, what does this mean for us?" Morjeth looked around at the gathered workers, seeing hope in their eyes for the first time in years. "It means that the Council can be defeated. If the humans can resist, maybe we can too." Similar conversations were happening across dozens of worlds. Species that had been subjugated for centuries began to whisper about resistance. The Council's greatest weakness was being exposed. Their power depended entirely on the belief that resistance was impossible. Back near Jupiter, the alien fleet was slowly beginning to restore basic functions. Praetor Zaktal stood on his bridge, now dimly lit by emergency power, as his communications officer established contact with Nexus Prime. "Praetor, the High Council demands a full report," the officer announced. Zaktal straightened his uniform and activated the transmission. The faces of the 12 Council leaders appeared on his screen, their expressions ranging from anger to disbelief. "Report, Praetor," High Counselor Vextar demanded. "The humans have rejected our tribute demands and demonstrated military capabilities that exceed our own," Zaktal replied bluntly. "They disabled our entire fleet without casualties, using technology we don't understand." "Impossible." "I watched it happen, High Counselor. One human ship appeared from nowhere, neutralized 12 of our vessels in minutes, and vanished again. Our weapons couldn't even target them effectively." The Council leaders exchanged worried glances. Counselor Vexara leaned forward. "What are your recommendations, Praetor?" Zaktal considered his words carefully. His next statement would either start a war or change the course of galactic history. "I recommend we open diplomatic relations with the humans as equals, not subjects. We clearly underestimated their capabilities." The transmission ended in stunned silence as the Council faced the reality that their age of unquestioned dominance might be coming to an end. 3 weeks after the demonstration, the neutral space station Haven 7 became the most important place in the galaxy. The massive structure floated between star systems, its gleaming hull reflecting the light of distant suns. For the first time in galactic history, the Council had requested a diplomatic meeting with the species they had originally planned to subjugate. Admiral Joe Parker led humanity's delegation as they docked with the station. Captain Amy Foster walked beside him, along with Dr. Lisa Harper and Captain Nick Stone. Behind them came a full team of diplomats, scientists, and military advisors. Everyone knew this meeting would determine humanity's future among the stars. "Remember," Admiral Parker said as they approached the main conference chamber, "we're here as equals, not as supplicants. We've proven our strength. Now we need to prove our wisdom." The conference chamber was enormous, designed to accommodate representatives from dozens of different species. At one end sat the 12 members of the Galactic Council, their various forms creating an impressive display of alien diversity. At the other end, humanity's small delegation looked almost insignificant by comparison. High Counselor Vextar of the Valorians stood to address the gathering. His tall, elegant form commanded attention as he spoke. "We gather today to discuss the unprecedented events of recent weeks. The species known as humanity has demonstrated capabilities that we did not expect." Admiral Parker rose from his seat. "High Counselor, we appreciate your willingness to meet with us. Humanity seeks peaceful coexistence with all galactic civilizations." "Peaceful Coexistence, repeated Counselor Thexara of the Nethri. Yet you attacked our diplomatic mission without provocation. Captain Stone stepped forward. With respect, Counselor, your diplomatic mission demanded the enslavement of 100,000 humans. We responded with a measured demonstration that harmed no one while making our position clear. Praetor Zach Tell, now present via holographic projection from his recovered flagship, spoke up. The humans speak truth. They could have destroyed our entire fleet but chose instead to disable our weapons. This shows both strength and restraint. The room fell silent as the council members absorbed this admission. For Zach Tall to acknowledge human superiority in front of the full council was unprecedented. Dr. Harper activated a holographic display showing technological comparisons. Honorable counselors, we believe our civilizations could benefit greatly from cooperation. Our technologies complement each other in ways that could advance all our species. What do you propose? Asked Counselor Morvain of the Aquatic Delphians. Admiral Parker stood again. We propose the dissolution of the tribute system and the formation of a new Galactic Federation based on voluntary cooperation rather than forced submission. The reaction was immediate. Several council members began speaking at once, their voices rising in protest. General Krondar of the Chronic slammed his fist on the table. Impossible. The tribute system has maintained order for 3,000 years. Order built on fear and oppression, Captain Foster replied calmly. Our intelligence shows that dozens of species throughout your territory are ready to rebel. The system is already breaking down. High Counselor Vextar raised his hand for silence. What evidence do you have of this supposed instability? Dr. Harper activated another display showing communication intercepts from across Council space. Resistance movements on 14 worlds, work strikes on 7 mining colonies, and 3 separate species requesting to join humanity's proposed federation. Your own people are losing faith in the current system. The evidence was overwhelming. Messages of support for humanity had been pouring in from oppressed species throughout the galaxy. The demonstration near Jupiter had done more than show human military capability. It had inspired hope among billions of enslaved beings. Counselor Vexara studied the data carefully. These communications are genuine, she admitted. Our intelligence services have confirmed increasing unrest throughout our territory. The question is, Admiral Parker said, do we work together to build something better, or do we watch the galaxy tear itself apart in rebellion and civil war? Hours of debate followed. Some council members argued for military action against humanity, but Praetor Zach Tull's testimony made it clear that such action would likely fail. Others suggested trying to maintain the status quo, but the evidence of growing unrest made that option increasingly impossible. Finally, High Counselor Vextar called for a recess. The council members withdrew to a private chamber while humanity's delegation waited anxiously. The future of galactic civilization hung in the balance. When the council returned, Counselor Thexara spoke for the group. We have reached a decision. The tribute system will be suspended pending the establishment of new governmental structures. The room erupted in surprised murmurs. Captain Foster felt her heart racing as she realized what this meant. Furthermore, Thexara continued, we agree to participate in discussions about forming a new galactic federation based on voluntary membership and mutual cooperation. Admiral Parker stood slowly, hardly believing what he was hearing. The Council accepts humanity's proposal? We accept the need for change, High Counselor Vextar replied. Your species has shown us that our old methods are no longer viable. Perhaps it is time to try a different approach. Captain Stone smiled as he thought about the disabled alien fleet that had started this whole process. A single demonstration of strength had accomplished what centuries of rebellion might not have achieved. Dr. Harper activated her communication system to send the news back to Earth. Within hours, the entire galaxy would know that the age of forced tribute was ending. The negotiations continued for weeks, but the hardest part was over. Species after species requested to join the new Federation. Colony worlds declared their independence from the old Council system. The Zephyrians of Kepler 442b were among the first to be granted freedom, with Elder Morgith speaking for his people as they took their place as equals in galactic society. 6 months later, Admiral Parker stood on the observation deck of the new Federation headquarters, watching ships from dozens of species working together in space. The old Council structure had been completely transformed into something unprecedented. A truly cooperative galactic government. Praetor Zacto approached and stood beside him, looking out at the same view. "Your species taught us something valuable, Admiral. True strength isn't about forcing others to submit. It's about inspiring them to work together." Parker nodded, thinking about how far they had all come. "We're just glad we could help build something better." As they watched, a new ship arrived at the station, a joint human-Valorian design that represented the future of galactic cooperation. The age of tribute was over, and the age of partnership had begun.